What is going on, guys? It is a fine, super fine day here in Southwest PA, and I think today what I want to talk about is it might be a hard pill to swallow for some people, and I never want to make content that like pisses people off or whatever, but whenever you're talking about as serious as your life and the lives of people that would be affected by the end of your life, it is okay to be a little bit blunt. That being said, we need to take responsibility for our actions on a motorcycle. Now, what exactly am I talking about? Well, I watch a lot of Dan the Fireman and a lot of Moto Stars and a lot of just motorcycle crash videos, which I'm sure you do too. And if you do, I'm very happy to hear that. And I do think generally most of my audience does do that, because just the kind of content that I put out, you're obviously wanting to learn. Not that I'm a great teacher, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying because you're actively watching stuff like this means that you're generally wanting to push forward with your knowledge and you understand motorcycle dangers. And you know, whenever you watch Moto Stars and Dan the Fireman and all this stuff, there's a pretty strong pattern that occurs, and a lot of it is people getting mad at the other driver when they themselves are the one that is to blame. You know what I mean? Oh, my ears are popping. And let them pop. For example, how many... I don't really want to do it in front of him. You know what? Fuck him. I shouldn't say that. Watch the profanity. But, you know, for instance, most of the time, whenever I watch Dan the Fireman and stuff like that, and somebody gets cut off, right? They always do one of two things. They either do this, or they do this. That does nothing. All that's doing is taking away an action. If this is a video game, you only have X amount of actions until you wreck. But, you know, kind of what I'm getting at is a lot of times these accidents can be completely prevented just by the motorcyclists themselves taking responsibility and either just slowing down or just being a general safer rider. And I don't know if I'm making too much sense right now, but I'm definitely going to, so bear with me. There is a fantastic video. There is a fantastic video of, and I was watching, there's a fantastic video Fort9 put out, and it's either called the bird paradox or the pigeon paradox. I can't remember which one it is, but I will most definitely link that in the description because it is such a great video. He puts out fantastic content to begin with, but this paradox goes like this. How many times today have you looked at your nose, or have you seen your nose? Twice. Once when you brushed your teeth this morning, and two just now. Your nose sits right in the middle of your face. Well, not in the middle, it's right there. It's in your peripheral. There's no reason why you can't see it. But your brain naturally takes that out of the equation because it's useless information. It's there all the time, so it just gets filtered out. So if you think about it, if you are in a car and you're driving, you look left, you look right again, your nose is in that peripheral, which can automatically take out some of that information. Motorcycles are small, they're narrow, and they're fast if you're driving them fast. That alone affects speed perception and distance perception. So, you know, most of the time whenever I see people who get pulled out in front of, the only reason they got pulled out in front of is because the motorcyclists themselves were driving too fast, or they were in the wrong lane position. Let's say this is a blind turn, it's a more sharp turn. You don't want to be over here because you're not all that visible, right? You want to be over here where you're more visible. It's all about visibility. And you know, again, whenever I see people who get pulled out in front of and they lay on their horn, or they do one of these, you know what I mean? The motorcyclist is probably at fault. Let's just be honest. You know, we have to take responsibility, because we are the only person who's going to pay for our actions. Somebody else is going to pay for it too if you hit them. You know, they might not pay for it as much as you, but you know, somebody's got to pay. So, you know, just riding around really quick. And I just finished up making a video about why I'm glad the season's over, in a sense, because I've personally been riding really fast lately. And you know, there's a safe way to do it, okay? There's a time and place for everything. I know at the end of the day the track is the best place to do it. I can't afford to go to a track. I can't afford all of that stuff that goes into a track. So what do? Well, I mitigate that risk by riding on roads that don't have a lot of intersections. Intersections mean driveways. So, well, not only, but they mean driveways as well. You know, and time of day and things like that. And then at the end of the day, if I wreck, it's all on me. And hopefully nobody else gets hurt because of it. But I don't know. Just at the end of the day, guys, we really got to take responsibility for our actions and quit blaming others. I mean, I see, again, I watch all these videos, and yeah, sure, some videos the car does pull out. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. That does happen. But there's just a lot of instances where people do that, and it's their fault. They were either going too fast, they were in the wrong lane position, they were riding fast on roads that don't need to be ridden fast on, like just regular commercial streets. A road like this, you know, it's not, you know, the safest, but it's safer. You know, it's safer than doing, you know, that squid shit on the street. You know, people weaving in and out of traffic at high rates of speed is just idiotic. It's just idiotic. And you know, if that's your thing, and that's the other thing too, because I can play devil's advocate, because I know whenever you go faster, not that fast, but when you go faster and you're kind of moving through traffic, you kind of are in control, because you know there's not going to be a car readily behind you because you just passed that car. So I understand that stuff, okay? But it's the stuff that guy just cut over without his turn signal, or there's a big whatever in the road so the guy had to swerve, or a deer, or just these things that you can't necessarily control. You know, those are the things that cause accidents. And I don't know, I feel like I'm repeating myself, and there's not a very good video. I kind of feel like my content hasn't been very good for a little while there, probably just because of, you know, how I've been feeling. Spooky guy in the cage, what a shame. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to say, guys, was just take responsibility for your actions. You know, there's going to be accidents, there's going to be people pull out in front of you, there's going to be people that cut you off. The important thing is you know how to react to that, and you know, you've given yourself enough space. If the guy in front of you slams on his brakes and you rear end him, yeah, technically it could have been his fault, but at the end of the day, you could have avoided it by keeping a safe buffering distance and knowing how to properly maintain your motorcycle and control your motorcycle. So what's this guy going to do? See, he probably couldn't see because of the truck. I didn't know. I got over so he could see. I'm happy. He's happy. I hope he's happy. Everybody's happy. You know, another thing about taking responsibility, and what else I wanted to really get in there and talk about, is taking responsibility for your own education and your own practice whenever it comes to motorcycling. it's so very easy to get your bike and to just start riding because you don't really want to do the whole parking lot drills and all that stuff. I get it because I was in that position. Whenever I first got my bike, I didn't do too many parking lot drills. I got accustomed to emergency swerving and emergency braking, but as far as like slow speed maneuvers, I don't want to say that it just came natural to me because I know how that sounds, but I didn't have any problems with that. Even with being a first time motorcyclist, like, I don't know, I just seemed to adapt to it very well. But I did put a lot of extra energy into emergency braking and being aware of my surroundings. Another reason why I really like watching Motostars and Dan the Fireman is because, and motovlogs in general, and I think I mentioned this before, is because while I'm watching your POV, I'm also instinctively picking out hazards, traps, they call them in the MSF class, right? They're traps. They're things that can disrupt your day. And a trap can be an intersection. You're coming up on this turn and, we know that there's an intersection. That's a trap because there could be a car pulling out. Just pulling out in front of you or whatever. This is like farmland. There could be goats or whatever on here. Who knows? But whenever you take responsibility in that aspect, you're just helping yourself become a better rider and a safer rider. Because like I said earlier, you are the only person who's really going to pay for your actions. And what I'm getting at is really taking responsibility in your education is the other side of the coin, right? There's going to be situations and you got to do your best to mitigate that situation, whether it's not being an asshole on street roads, or if you are going to speed, you do it as responsibly as you can. But also, when things happen, and this is not an if, this is definitely a when things happen, you better know how to react. That's why it's so important to practice that, so whenever that situation happens, it's immediately. Remember, this is all on time, and while we're talking about milliseconds here, it's still part of it. So boom, something pulls out in front of you. Your brain has to first see that, interpret that, and then you have the reaction. So if your reaction is to lay on that horn or something else that is not an emergency maneuver, you're wasting time, you're wasting your action. So when you're practicing these things over and over, it just becomes instinctual. I was riding around last night. It's raining and it's nighttime, and I'm on a road, a very familiar road that I've been on. I'm not speeding because I can't see anything at night in the rain. It's crazy. But a car pulls out of his driveway like he was like pissed off, like he like peeled wheels out of his thing. You have to, and had to downshift, emergency brake while I'm all doing that in the wet road. Mind you, while that's happening, I'm also looking back in my back mirrors, making sure that there's not a car behind me that's going to run into me, right? So just practice your stuff, guys. It's just going to make you a better rider. It's going to make you a smarter rider. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'm super happy. This is actually being recorded a little bit later. I made this obviously in the fall, and today is April 5th. And I just had this other idea to put this in, but I was going on a rant about something about that. I honestly forget what I was saying. Scratch that, never mind. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one.